Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. It is an amazing day. Welcome, welcome. It is another day, and we are live on Pass It On. If you're watching us on YouTube, welcome. If you're watching us on Insta, welcome. And yeah, yet another day where we are talking about, real estate. My name is TJ. If you've never been here before, we talk about anything around real estate here. So welcome aboard. It is I, your boy TJ, and I do business in the business that is called the M5 Property Addicts. And on every Saturday evening, around about 7 o'clock, I come out to you and we start talking about anything around real estate. I get to answer a few questions, and over and above that, I get to speak about a particular topic. And today, I apologize that we are a few minutes late, but let us start. We are here. By the way, remember that as and when I am having the talk right now, so I start off with a few minutes of just, a topic that we are talking about for today. And then thereafter, you get to ask any questions. And you can ask your questions actually whilst I am going ahead or talking on here. So for the guys that are on Insta, can you hear me? And if the answer is yes, send me some thumbs up, some love, or something that I can see you. And for the guys that are on Facebook or on YouTube, in the comments, give me your thumbs up. Say, can you hear me? I just want to make sure that our technology is working before. Cool, awesome. The guys that are on Insta, they said they can hear me. Let me just hear for the guys that are on YouTube. Can you hear me? Is the sound great? Someone says your picture is terrible, TJ, on YouTube. Yes, I forgot my camera in the office. I apologize. Okay, loud and clear. You can hear me. The guys that are on YouTube and the guys that are on Facebook. Okay, good. So let's start. Everyone can hear me, which is good. Today's topic, I want us to talk about credit, right? I want us to talk about credit, how to increase your chance of being approved for credit so that you can borrow more money, right? So that you can borrow more money from the banks, right? Let's talk about it. Why do the banks want to give you money? Firstly, let's define what is credit. There's bad debt and good credit, right? Bad and good credit. You may all remember, for some of you who have come through. By the way, if I'm not doing what I'm doing, I'm an author, so I write books. So this is one of my books that I wrote. I got another one that's coming up next month. And in this book here, I write about how I lost around about 5 million, just about 5 million I lost. And that was bad debt. Okay, that was what? Bad debt. What is bad debt? Bad debt, you go out there and you get some credit, and out of that, that money does not make money for you. Instead, you start making payments so that you can survive out of that credit. So that's bad debt. Now, I want us to know that from now on, I don't want us to talk about bad debt, because if you're in bad debt, I think I'm just going to spend maybe a couple of minutes around that so that it is very clear to people. I was in bad debt before. I know how you can get out of it. And in simple terms, if you're in bad debt right now, so the banks are not able to give you money, fix it. So how do you fix it? First, number one, acknowledge the fact that you do have bad debt, right? That's number one. Number two, make a spreadsheet of sort. Actually do a diagnose analysis of sort. So when I say that, it might sound like gibberish, but all you need to do is to take a spreadsheet, right? Write all the people that you're owing money to, the ones that have listed you, the ones that have. So all the people, Edcars, now Edcars is closed. Are they closed? I don't know. Right. Edcars, Credit Bank, credit card with bank number 1, number 2, number 3. Write all of them down. So now you've got a list of 10, 20, whatever the number is. And then after that, put in a status next to it. What is the status? How much do you owe them? What is the capital? What is the interest? Okay. And over and above that, what is the status at the credit bureau? Right? What is the status at the credit bureau? Because you want to fix that. You want to fix it. That's what you want to fix, all right? So today we're talking about how to increase your chances of being approved, right? But before you get there, we're saying that some people just like me, they were in bad debt, or should I say they are in bad debt today, and we're trying to figure out how can we help you with that, right? And I've gone through this journey, so I know what I'm talking about. You can get out of bad debt. How can you do that? Follow the steps that I've just mentioned now. Now, the fact that now you actually know your status of where you are, acknowledge that. That's where you are. That's fine, right? What happened, happened. Whether you charged the money with Susan, with Ben, whether it was stolen, whether it doesn't matter. Just acknowledge the fact that this is where you are right now, today. Okay? I do that exercise in the morning so that by the time you go out at night, blood pressure is a little bit lower. Okay? Being on a serious note, I've been there before, I know how it feels. Okay. Then number 3, or the next point thereafter, what you now need to do is to look at, obviously for me, what I did, I looked at all of that list and I looked at the highest interest and I started paying off the highest interest. So I called them and I said, look, this is my circumstance right now. Can I make some payments toward this? How much you're going to make a payment, 100 Rand, 200 Rand, 500, whatever the amount is, okay? If you are underwater to a point where you cannot arrange some form of payments, there is what's called debt administration. You can go under administration. So there are many companies out there that can do administration for you. Basically, someone else starts managing your finances alongside with you. They go to the high court, they put in administration for you. And basically, all of these creditors will stop calling you and you start putting a payment plan towards that. And again, I did that and I worked out the highest interest. And that's what I started paying off first. But today we're talking about how to increase your chance of being approved for credit. So which means that your credit standing is good. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I also want to state that over and above all of this, you still have a credit report. You still have a credit report, right? For some people, they believe that if you are in bad debt, you do not have a credit report. You've got it. It's just bad, right? So there's companies out there where you can pull a report on an annual basis for free. TransUnion, they do that. Experian, they do that. All of them, actually, by law, they are allowed to give you one report per year. So as and when you're making these payments, go to one and pull a report. What is it saying? Is your credit report improving or not? By the way, if you're blacklisted, they're still tracking you. Your report is still functioning. If you're under administration, again, it's still being tracked. So the more you're going to be making payment, whether you're under administration, whether you are not, the bottom line is that your report is showing. Now, I then want to start the fact, I then want us to talk about what is your credit report. Within your credit report, especially if you're playing in the space that I play in, which is real estate, you want to buy more properties and you want to buy them with debt, right? So if you're buying homes, so home loans and that kind of thing, they're predominantly going to look at your affordability. And the second thing that they will look at is your credit profile. Now, if your credit profile is in tatters, what do I mean by that? So if your credit profile is less than, so different banks look at different numbers in terms of what is a good client to them. So Experian as a credit report provider, they have their own gauge, but different banks have different ways of looking at it, right? And if motivated a little bit more, the different banks can also give you money. And the more your credit report is not kind of like not 100%, they kind of like give you a higher interest. So they kind of like saying that they're comfortable with you, but not 100%. And for that reason, they're going to pay you. They're going to give you a little bit of a penalty. So they now say prime plus 3 plus 4, 5, I don't know. Now, in other news, if your credit report is sharp, it is good, and you got a bit of assets on your name, it basically means that the bank in retro also, instead of charging you a higher interest, can charge you lower interest. Now, this is where we see, or we start seeing people who are being charged for the same loans that you have at prime minus. So you can get a prime minus 1, a prime minus half a base, a prime minus 2. Why? Because that's a good client. So let me speak to it. I want to speak to this point here of now, how can you improve your credit report so that you can increase your chances so that you can get more money from the banks, right? So remember, on here, we're always talking about good debt. What is good debt? I've been talking about bad debt. So what is good debt? Good debt is you are going out there and you borrow money, debt, and out of that, right, you get someone else to pay for you. In real estate, we do that all the time. For the guys that run Ubers or any of these cars, you all know that. So basically what happens, you get an asset via debt, right? And then someone else starts paying off that debt for you. And that someone else is called a tenant, right? Or a customer for you, right? Now, I am now talking about how best can you increase your chances of being approved more home loans, right? More home loans. So the first thing is that, number one, here we talk about buying properties in a company. So we are always buying properties in a company because we are reducing the risk on the individual. And over and above that, we all know in our market in South Africa, we've got what is called the National Credit Act. The National Credit Act stipulates that if you are earning 10,000 Rand, I'm giving an example here, then around about 30% of that, so 3,000 Rand is allocated to housing of some sort, right, of your debt, right? Which then means that you can't go above that cap. So which means that if you are one of those people who are going to go out there and start getting debt, if you buy the one property at 3,000, you can't get another property because National Credit Act has limited you. Now, that's for individuals, a person, right? This is the reason. So I'm giving you a tip here today on Pass It On. By the way, welcome to Pass It On. It is a Saturday. We are here every day, every Saturday at 7 o'clock. You can get to ask any questions. And over and above that, I'll answer them to you. And we talk anything and around real estate. Tonight, we are talking about how to increase your chance of being approved for more money, right? So that you can buy more properties. The properties that you're going to be buying, you're going to put in a tenant, and then the tenant is going to pay off your debt for you. How cool is that? And you have an asset that you're keeping. Over and above that, you can ask me questions and I will jump onto those questions as I go along. Right. Now, what is a credit report? Credit report, I want to marry it to the business. Why you're buying properties in a business. Credit report is given onto a person, and over and above that, recently I've also started seeing they can now pull reports on a company. But when you are buying properties in your company, right? So this is what we talk about here. Structures are good. So I'm just going to tell you half the story here. For some of you who want to learn how to do these things, you need to go to school. Pay some school fees so you can go to school. And we've got a class that's coming up right now, and I'll tell you more about that. But when you're buying properties using debt, you do not buy it in your name because of the limit that we spoke about under the NCA. But you buy them in a company. When you buy them in a company, the debt is not yours. The debt is sitting where? In the company. So for that reason, do companies have a limit? No. Actually, the banks are designed to give companies more and more money, right? The banks are not designed for people. No. You are small fries in a fish. The banks are designed to save bigger companies so that they can produce business, and out of producing the business, they can produce employees, and the employees, they can then be taxed with the government, and then that's how the government makes money. So it's a cycle, right? Let me start again. The banks are there to give banks more money, The banks are there, or let's start, right? Who really owns the money here in a country? Is it the banks? No, it's not, right? Is it the Reserve Bank? Nah, it's the treasurer of the country, right? Finance, the treasurer. So the treasurer owns money, and then they pass it on to the Reserve Bank and say, Mr. Wholesaler, push this money into the market, like what we've been seeing now during COVID. The price of money was at the lowest ever. Then they'll push it to the banks, and then the banks will push it to the companies because they are selling at bulk, right? To you, they're selling 1 million, they're selling 500, a credit card or 50, but their business is to sell it in bulk, like 10 millions, 20 million, 500 million to companies. And what is the company going to do? The companies are then going to create jobs, and the jobs that are now going to be created, you become an employee. When you become an employee, the government is going to take a tax away up to 45%. They will take from you, and then it goes back again to treasurer, and then treasurer again pushes more money. So the banks actually are designed to give more money to the bank, to the companies. So why don't you want to follow the system so that you can get more money from the banks? That's what we're talking about here. This was tip number 1, right? But now, a lot of you are going to say, TJ, but I just have a company, and how best can I actually have credit on this company? Well, you need to stand surety for your company up until to a point when your company can borrow more money on your own, which is why it is important that your credit profile is mwah. What do I mean by mwah? Like super mwah, right? Because remember, a credit report, it's almost like it's not almost, it is a financial CV for the credit providers out there. So they want to see that how well do you behave, right? So if you are employed and you run everything on cash, you actually don't have a credit report because you've never borrowed any money. Is that good for you? That's bad for you. We're talking about good debt today. Not bad debt, good debt, where you buy something and then that asset gives you some money, right? In this case, you put in a tenant and the tenant pays off for your debt. How cool is that, right? So let's talk about it. Number 1, what are they looking out for? So the first thing that they're going to be looking out for here is that they will look out for the credit providers, the banks themselves. Remember, I was a banker before, and I know these things, and I'm here to help you. This is what it's all about. Pass it on. We talk about these things, but this is not the end and be all. So you can also go out there and get some proper advice from a tax practitioner, from a financial advisor, or things like that, or from your banker, so that you can understand the products at your particular bank. I'm giving you awareness here, right? This is not advice, but awareness of how they think these things work. I'm doing it. I'm showing you what I'm doing, and you can go out and you can implement this for yourself. So the first one, the thing that the banks look out for, credit providers, is to say, how good is this person in terms of repayments? So they look at your repayment history. So obviously, history, the longer the history you have, the better they can be able to see. So if you've got a home loan or something like that on your business, and it's a 10-year, they can actually pull a 10-year report and say, this guy here is a good payer, and your credit report starts telling you that. So that is awesome. So if that's criteria number 1, if it is nah, then they are going to say, we will give this guy 2 million. Easy. That's criteria number 1, right? Criteria number 2 is that they also look at the length of the credit history, right? So we spoke about your credit balance that you have in terms of your how well you're paying for it. So now I'm talking about how long have you been keeping this, and are you paying on time? So I want to jump back to talking about your credit balance. So some banks, they'll look at you and then they'll say, how much credit do you have? If it is low, then they're like, okay, good, we can give this person some more money. So the longer that you have it, but it's low, then we can give it to you. The longer that you've been having it and you've been paying consistently, then we can give it to you. 3 criteria there, right, that I've just covered. Then the fourth thing that that they look out for is, how frequently are you looking for credit? How frequently are you looking for credit? So as a property investor, you obviously have some couple of deals going on, and you need to look at this carefully. So if you're buying a property, let's say you're saying you want to buy a property, one property every quarter, in between, you mustn't get new credit. Yeah? In between, you mustn't get new credit, which basically means that, is this credit for a credit card? Are you going to get a cell phone on credit and those things? Then the answer is no, don't, because you don't want to do that, right? Because that's going to jeopardize you then, right? But all of this, if it's managed well, then they can overcome that. What is the type of credit that you're jumping on? The more you are going to go out there and look for credit, the banks are going to think that you are desperate. So if you go out and look for a personal loan, a revolving loan, and a credit card, and a store card, and it basically means that you're in desperation. So figure out from your perspective which type of credit do you want to jump into? Is it a revolving loan? Is it a credit card? Now, I want to throw to you a tip here, right? The banks is there to give you more money. The banks is there to give you more money. So choose a particular product, or maybe two. Or if it is personal loan, I'm not too keen on personal loan, because on a personal loan, it doesn't grow. I'm keen to go into something like a credit card, like a revolving loan, because the more I service that, or the more I am paying it back, the more the banks will continuously increase it for me. And it doesn't look like from the credit reports, I am jumping around getting credit from everywhere, different types of credit. They're just opening it up for me. So I remember at a point, I think my credit card was sitting around about 500,000 or something like that, right? Something like that. So I could easily go on to, and like these houses that I see for 300,000, the house that I bought at 1,460,000, I could buy it with a credit. I could. Why? Because that was my limit on my credit, right? And these days, I'm now trying to build that up again whilst I'm getting out of my bad debt, right? So you can build it up, And I know of people that have credit card limit of more than 2 million. It's very possible. It just means that for as long as you are keeping it and you are servicing it well, the banks are willing to throw money at you. Readily available credit. Okay. So now let's jump on to talk about it. By the way, this is welcome to today. It is a Saturday, and this is what we call Pass It On. And Pass It On, we talk about anything and everything around real estate. Why do we call it Pass It On? It's because I was educated and I keep on being educated. And the coolest guy that teaches me, the guy is called Doing. I like to do. I've got real estate everywhere in South Africa, in the business that I own, which is called the M5 Property Addicts, with my partners. And out of that, we have just around 200 tenants, 350 students. That number is about to double. And that's why I enjoy talking about this. And for you, you could be starting. And if you're starting, we can help you. We've got a course that's called Grow My Business that everyone else can jump into. Actually, we are running a Black Friday special on it. So you can attend on the 11th and on the 12th of December. And you can learn how to do property investing for yourself. But let's talk about how do they then calculate affordability. So how much can you afford? How much can you afford? Remember, that's what we've been talking about tonight. Anything and everything around real estate. But tonight we've been talking specifically about how can you increase your chance of being approved. More home loans, but credit, right? Good debt, right? So the banks will always look at How well do you manage your income? How well do you manage your income? If you're managing it well, right, then the banks are going to give you more money. How are you managing it? Well, the credit report needs to stipulate it, not you are telling us that you're managing it well. No, the credit report needs to tell us that. Is it sustainable? Is it enough for your financial obligations on your monthly living expenses, right? Remember, the majority of our economy is geared around monthly. So they look at it from that perspective. How much of your expenses are on the low side? So in terms of your budget, right? How much of that are you reducing some of your spend and things like that? And then the bank will then calculate and say, actually, we can give this guy more money. So that whole notion of the banks will give money to those that don't need it, it is true. So if you are showing that, then the banks are going to throw more money at you. Very easy. Remember, the banks are there to sell money. They want to sell money to you. That's why the banks exist. So you need to figure out how best can the bank sell more money to you. That's the bottom line of it. Right, awesome. I'm going to go into some of the questions. I'm going to start with the guys that are on Insta. Good evening to all of my people on Insta. Welcome to Pass It On. Pass It On, we talk about anything and everything around real estate. And you got a question, I will answer that question for as long as it is in real estate. Yes. So Vuma, how's it going? Welcome to Pass It On. So Vuma says to me, my bank says I am overcommitted with 3 properties, 2 paid up, give me a rental of 14,000, so they can't grant me more funding to buy new asset. How do I deal with this? So Vuma, I don't even know your circumstance, but I am of the view that these properties are in your name. You need to move them into your company of sort. Remember what we spoke about earlier on is that as an individual, I don't know your other expenses, right? So if you have to move some of your assets into a company has unlimited credit that it can get other than a person. So if those 2 paid up properties, let's assume those 2 properties were 500 and 500 each. I guarantee you, if that was in a business, the bank would be easily be happy to give you. You got $1 million in there, 500 on one property. The banks will be, like, depending on the expenses on it. So let's just take an average 20% expenses on those 2 assets. The bank will probably be even happy to give you like a 2 bar on it, provided you're buying more assets, right? Because, sorry, not 2 bar, around about 800, right? So, and if you've got some future rental on that property, they'll be able to take that into consideration. There's different products out there. So on $1 million, they'll be able to hold that on collateral, 700, 800,000, easy, right? But depending on where those properties are, because in some cases, some of the banks, they don't take collateral on properties in particular areas, right? But that's the bottom line of it. Okay, but to me, 14,000 rental income, if we take 20% out of that, or even 30% on expenses and 2 properties that are paid up, making an assumption of 500 each, you got a million plus another 14,000, and we take some money out of that 14,000, you're left with around about 10,000. I honestly think that at face value, round about 800,000, they'll be able to give you, with an additional maybe about $1 million on the other 10,000 that's coming through. So a repayment, I don't see why. You might want to move to a different bank as well, but the best one for me would be move your assets into a company so that the banks can start seeing assets into a company. If it is all of these assets are in your personal name, maybe that's where the challenge is. All right, good stuff. Let's go on. Mrs. Nulo, how's it going? Welcome to Pass It On. Do you think it is wise to resign working and focus on doing property? It is. I did it. And look at where I am. But I did that when I was able to, I had my 101 income. What is my 101 income? So Mrs. Nulu, maybe you are earning at the moment, right? At the moment, at your job, let's assume that you are earning around about 20,000 Rand. So the day that I reached my 20,000 passive income for my property business, that's when I resigned. Because I was not jeopardizing my family livelihood, or should I say my livelihood, and I still had an income and I could still continue doing business. All of my business partners right now, including myself, we work on our business. We don't do anything else. So it is wise, yes, provided your 101 is covered. Maybe seeing that you are Mrs. Nulu, maybe your boo could look after you. But I would always say that push it to the limit, get your 101, and then jump. Right. Awesome stuff. This is the stuff that we teach out in our business, in our training program, which is coming up on the 11th and the 12th, on how you can create a business, sustainable business that can give you some money over and above, just leaving your job. You might not even want to leave your job. You might want to do other cool things. Right. I hope I've answered your question there, Mrs. Nulu. If I haven't, hit me up again with a question. Right. I am still talking to the guys that are on the Insta. Hey, I am new. What is going on here? Well, we hope that you have figured it out by now, what we are talking about. Right. Ndaba, how's it going? Welcome to M5. And this is Pass It On. What is an ideal credit score for applying for a home loan? Well, I suppose, so this is one of those each bank will vet. So different banks have what they call credit criteria. So there's different credit criteria for each banks, and they change those criteria from time to time, right? In terms of how hungry are they for the business and how many people are out there, right? But the bottom line is go on to pull a report, and your report already either on credit, on TransUnion or on Experian or whatever, Clear Score, it already start telling you what is a good credit score. It doesn't necessarily mean that if it is saying good on Clear Score, the banks are going to say yes, because they also have their own criteria. If they're having more people that are cream, right, they're going to take the cream. They are running a business. Right? I hope that makes sense, Ndaba. Right. Someone else. Right. Neo. Yes, Neo. Welcome to Pass It On. It is a Saturday. Which type of real estate do you specialize in? Right. Particularly at M5 Property Addicts, we do affordable housing. So we do developments, and we do affordable housings, blocks of flats. We buy them, we turn them around, renovate them. And we also do student accommodation. And those are the 2-3 things that we do. All right. I hope that makes sense. The guys that are on YouTube, I am coming to you on your questions. Right. Neo is asking another question. Thank you very much, Neo. As a first-time rounder, you are participating. So well done and high five to you. Is there a specific state in South Africa that you recommend for real estate investing? Oh, well, now it really depends, right? So if you want to invest in the big metros, well, Johannesburg, Cape Town, Durban, all of these. But in South Africa, there's a high demand of properties. Do you want to do commercial? Do you want to do student accommodation? Obviously, now you want to focus where the universities are or the learning institutions are, and they are everywhere. So I specifically do not recommend any particular area. I recommend that look at your specific strategy and then follow where you're getting good deals, right? In terms of today and your growth. Right, let me jump on to the guys that are sitting off on Insta. Welcome to you. And I see a couple of people here saying, yeah, how's it, Sensei? Yes. What's happening? Good to see you too. Someone else is asking a question here. TJ. Yes. How's it going? That's me, right? When purchasing a new property, what is a new property? New development, new property that you just saw. But anyway, Alistair, doesn't matter. Let's jump onto your question here. Is it wise to apply for a further loan from a previous property purchased to cover the deposit, attorney fees, etc. for the property? Well, it depends, Alistair. Basically, what you're saying there, you've got a bit of equity on your property, and now you're buying the second one. And is it advisable for you to? You're being creative. The bottom line is that property going to give you enough money so that you can be able to service that loan together with the loan on the new property? And if the answer is yes, and you're making some dollar out of it, yes, I say go for it. I have no problems with that, right? But you need to look obviously into your affairs to see if ever it goes wrong, what is the ripple effect? Can you be able to manage that? Yeah, okay. Someone else is asking, I don't see their name here, so but they are hitting us from Facebook, and they are asking the question to say, can you sign a contract with a person who qualifies for a bond and you become a shareholder, not a director? If yes, please explain to us. These are the stuff that we teach in our class, man. This is all about structuring. I suggest that you need to come to class so that we can dive into this. The bottom line is that, yes, it can be done, but the how part of it is the most important part, because you need to have all of your documentation correctly. So you can do it. Yes, you can, right? In the other person. And there's the shareholders agreements needs to be done. The MOUs, the MOIs needs to be done. And what kind of a relationship is this that you're jumping into? So the answer is not a short one. We need to go in a little bit deeper than that, all right? It's called structuring. When you structure a deal, okay? Enric Humane says, what do you need to start a company to invest in property? Well, you need yourself to be learned. You need obviously to learn how to do these things. That's why we teach other people. That's number one. The more you are going to learn, the more it becomes easier for you to identify the properties and later on to be able to structure these things and to see whether you are making profit from day number one. And obviously the starting of the company, that's very easy. You know, 1,000 Rand, we can go out, we can get a property for 1,000 Rand, you know, not a property, sorry, a company. But it's what happens in the company, the structurings. That's what's important. Right, someone else is hitting me with a question. Crazy Lavnatic, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. The guys that are on Insta, I'll come back to you now. We are just answering some questions. These are the guys that are on YouTube. Say I have never taken any credit from any bank, but I have 100,000 in my business bank account. Is that enough to get credit from the bank to buy property under the company? No. So if you have never taken any credit, even if you have 100 million in your bank account, the banks might actually decline you because they don't know who you are, right? What is a credit report? Look at it as a CV, right? So, crazy, you got 100 million in your bank account and you go to the bank and you say to the bank, can I borrow some money? The bank are going to say, show us your CV. We want to see. We will pull it. What's your name? You give them your name, the business name ID. They type it onto the credit bureau system. It comes out 0. They may take a chance on you. They might say, yeah, pay a 50% deposit, that kind of thing. But the bottom line is that they won't give you 100%, right? Because you are unknown. Your behavior is not known, right? So the credit report, it's all about understanding who the next person is, right? Alistair Daniels asked the question, hi TJ, I have 2 properties I want to move from my personal entity to a company. What would I have to pay? Would I have to pay the same amount in transfer costs as if I were purchasing it? The short answer is yes. That's what you need to do. That's the easiest one. But there is other ways that you can do it. Hit us on info@m5 Property Addicts. I will show you the ropes of doing it in another way. Right. 5-star. Welcome. Pass it on. I'm hoping that all of you guys that I'm giving you all of these answers, at some point, you are going to take the link that's on here on YouTube and you're going to pass it on to someone else so that we are not the only ones that are learning the stuff and the other people can also learn. Is that good? I think it's a good deal. Okay. 5-star, are you coming to class? For 1,997, you can come to class 5-star and you can learn about improving, scaling your properties. There's a Black Friday running here, and the Black Friday, it's ending tonight. So for 2,000 Rand, 5-star, you get to come into the class, and 2 other people, they will join online. And we can answer some of these questions and give you some more tactical, deeper conversations around investing. But let me answer your question for now. And this question that you are asking is, I have registered a company. Well done, 5-star. I have 2 properties under market value to form part of my portfolio, and an inherited 5-star has inherited a vacant stand, a piece of land paid off. Boom, well done. To build on, I'm based in Cape Town. Well, I didn't know what you were going to be asking here, but you've got a bit of equity on here sitting on these properties already from what I can see. And the question that I want to ask of you, what does your balance sheet say? Because your balance sheet can now be able to actually give you the ability to go and borrow some money, and you can make that business of yours grow. If you're keen around it, hit us up. Welcome to the class on the 11th and the 12th. We will show you some of those ropes. Omar, how's it going? Welcome to Pass It On. Your question is, how easy is it to refinance a property? It is so easy. It's easier than even applying for a property. So banks looks at refinancing in a much cheaper route than refinancing. So refinancing, super easy. Just need to get all of your ducks in a row, Omar. And if I buy another property with the money from the refinance, does the rental received from both properties count toward the refinance of the second property? Yes. There's different products out there where they even consider that way before you buy that property, and they will help you out to help boost up your rental, boost up your affordability. So let's assume you earn 10,000 Rand right now, and you go property number 1 and you haven't even refinanced it, and there's a bit of equity in it. And property number 2, now you're getting rent of 5,000 on there. So they will assume a 70% of your 5,000 that you're going to be getting on the property that you're buying in, right? And now they say, actually, your affordability is a little bit higher, so they can give you some more money, and potentially you might even not need to refinance that. Right. I'm gonna go into the guys that are on Insta. All right. Neo, welcome. And I think this will be my last question that I'll be taking. I don't see any other questions anywhere else, but I'll be taking in this last question from Neo. And Neo is asking the question, common mistakes made by newbies in real estate in their first deal: not doing numbers. Just buying a property because it looks pretty, because it looks amazing, the colors are good, it's in a good area, and they don't know what they don't know, so they just buy. And then they later discover that it's not an investment, it's a liability, because now they have to pay into the banks, right? Another one is that they buy in their personal name, right? Another one is that they buy thinking that in the future it's going to pay off. In the future it's going to pay off. An investment is about buying now and making money now, not in the future. A lot of people, newbies, that's what they think. So I've just given you 3 there, but there's quite a lot. You can grab my book, From Bed to Property Mogul. It's on my website. It's for free, by the way. You pay for delivery if you want in the hard copy. Yeah. Bongani Tiso. Welcome to Pass It On. Cool picture, by the way. Hey, right. A company with 5 properties and a good balance sheet for past 6 months. Can I still qualify for borrowing even though banks require 2 years financials? Hey, Bongani, even if there was nothing in the company, you can still get some good credit. Okay. You just need to figure out in the comments below or in the description on our YouTube, where you're watching us from. Yeah, you're watching us from YouTube. Okay. On our in the description of the YouTube, there's a link there. I can hook you up to one of our good bond originators. I call him the money bag, Christian Janssen. He looks after money for us, and companies that were registered yesterday, they can still get credit. So it's just about which finance specialists are you working with. So there's ways in which you can do it. And these are the stuff that we teach in the class. So ladies and gentlemen, I am hoping that this has been informative to you. Number one. And then number two, I'm hoping that you can see that there's lots to learn here, right? The class is available on Saturday. You can come in for the Black Friday special. It's still running until midnight. So you can come in, learn everything that you can. And my hope is that your bank balance can change, right? So I want to hang out with you when your bank balance is changing. I want to hang out with you when you are on your first property and you're sending some pictures, and you can take me and say, TJ, I've done A, B, C, D. I get excited when you do that. My purpose on life would have been fulfilled. But over and above that, I want you to make money. Over and above that, I want you to change the narrative of your family tree, right? For some of you, you're the breadwinners in your family. I want you to keep it that way. And real estate can create that. But buy it in the right space, in the right structures, so that even if you're gone, those assets can continue to look after your loved ones. Not my loved ones, no, your loved ones, right? And with that, they can celebrate you for the rest of their lives and can remember you. This is what I do here on Pass It On. We talk about serious things and we talk about easy things. And over and above that, we do live together. It has been great to hang out with you tonight on Pass It On. We will see each other again next Saturday. For now, enjoy. We will see you on the 11th and the 12th in the class, either be it online or in the room. By the way, there is lots of pre-course work, so don't wait to pay for the class on the day. You need to buy for your seat or reserve for your seat like at least a week before, because you have about 20 hours of pre-course work that you need to do before you come to the class. This is serious stuff, so you need to do it. We will check you out next week again on Pass It On. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been great hanging out with you. We'll check you out again on the next video.